My name is Louis Navellier, and I was one of the pioneers of artificial intelligence.
Over the past 40 plus years, I've built a billion-dollar money management firm on the back of big data, finance, and technology. The algorithms I wrote as a teenager have helped me achieve financial freedom.
I currently manage the wealth of some of the richest, most powerful people in America. I'm recording this urgent message to reveal a secret about artificial intelligence that will likely shock you to the core. You see, AI is far more advanced than most people realize. What I'm about to tell you isn't the kind of thing you'll hear about from the mainstream media or your favorite news sites. The only reason I know this is because I've been heavily involved in big data and technology since the very beginning. I was granted access to Wells Fargo's mainframe computer to build one of the world's first index funds when I was just 19 years old. I was using computer-based investing strategies when most folks hardly knew what a computer was. I've used advanced computer algorithms to trade billions of dollars. In fact, over a 15-year period, my computer-based fund even beat Warren Buffett, turning every $1 into $41. Over the course of my career, I've rubbed shoulders with United States presidents, I rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, and I've been featured on too many TV shows and news articles to count. You could say I'm a one-percenter, a member of the digital elite, a Wall Street insider. No matter what you call me, the bottom line is this. I'm deeply intertwined in the upper echelons of technology and finance. I've seen what comes next for AI, and frankly, it terrifies me. But I'm not scared for myself. I have enough money to retire 10 times over. I'm scared of what this technology means for the average American. If you've had an uneasy feeling about artificial intelligence, you're not alone. In a way, your instincts are guiding you correctly. The truth is, we're at a critical turning point in history right now. A huge change is happening. In case you haven't noticed, AI is already starting to transform the world in ways we couldn't have even imagined just a few years ago. Everyone from business leaders and government officials to scientists and doctors have been using AI to try and solve big, complex problems faced by society. Just over the past couple of years, AI has been used to help fight wars, cure diseases, even reduce traffic and improve highway safety. But what I'm about to show you is far more urgent for you and your family. Because if you have a single dollar invested in the stock market, the change I'm talking about will have a direct impact on your money, your finances, and your ability to retire. I'm about to tell you what's really going on behind the scenes and the 3 simple steps you need to take to prepare. Because this could either ravage your retirement nest egg or it could be the greatest opportunity you will ever have to get rich. Unfortunately, there's no in-between, and there's no time to waste. Right now, you still have the power to choose which side to be on. That's why my firm is determined to get this video to as many people as possible. It contains the most important message I'll ever send, but it could be taken offline at any moment. That means if you click off this page now, there's a good chance you'll never see this video again. So please, get comfortable, turn off any distractions, and prepare to listen to what I'm about to tell you with an open mind. I'm not exaggerating when I say the next few minutes could be some of the most important of your entire life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Let me start by telling you a bit more about who I am and why I'm uniquely qualified to help you make a lot of money in the coming months. Like I said, my name is Louis Navellier, but over the years, I've gone by many names and titles. The King of Quants, the Earnings Whisperer, the Wall Street Seer, I've been called one of the most important money managers of our time. I've even been dubbed Mr. Perfect. Well, I certainly wouldn't claim to be perfect. I am the best at what I do. I've been using big data and technology to predict the stock market for over 40 years. I know these days nearly everybody uses computers to analyze stocks, but nobody has been doing it as long as I have. And nobody holds a candle to my algorithms. There's a reason Steve Forbes said I have the most enviable long-term investment record. My computer programs allowed me to identify stocks like Microsoft at 38 cents, Cisco at 47 cents, Nike 33 cents, Home Depot at 73 cents, and Intel at just $3.60. Altogether, I've recommended 18 stocks that have seen gains as high as 10,000% to the folks who follow my work. To be clear, that's 18 chances to turn $1,000 into over $100,000. And that's not even scratching the surface of the hundreds of doubles, triples, and 10-baggers I've recommended. More recently, my system has identified the top performing stock of the year every year going back to 2012. If you talk to any finance major, they'll tell you that it's theoretically impossible to beat the market consistently. Yet, I more than doubled the return of the S&P 500 between 1998 and 2020. Before that, I went 15 years without having a down year at all. The fact is, I've had a lot of success throughout my career. I've also seen a lot of new technologies arise and change the world. No matter what new technology emerges, I've always managed to stay on top. That's how I can tell you with 100% certainty that AI can either be your worst nightmare or the greatest opportunity you will ever see to get rich. If you want to land on the right side of the fence, you just need to understand one simple concept. It's something I call the digital edge. I'll explain exactly how it works in a moment. For now, all you need to know is that it is what's going to separate the folks who get blindsided by AI from the folks who use it to get wealthy. As you're about to see, it's created countless millionaires in the past 2 decades alone. This simple concept is how 1%ers get a leg up on normal folks. It's the reason why 7 out of the 10 richest people in the world made their fortune through technology. And it's how I personally went from being a socially awkward, middle-class kid who struggled to being one of the most successful stock analysts of a generation. So how did I do it? How did I go from humble blue-collar beginnings to owning a fleet of luxury cars and a mansion down the street from Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club? If you're expecting me to tell you I pulled myself up on my bootstraps and worked harder than everybody else, you're wrong. The truth is, I uncovered an unfair advantage. And thanks to the AI development I'll show you in just a moment, you can use the same unfair advantage to create substantial wealth for yourself and your family, but only if you take action immediately. As you'll see, we're in a critical window of opportunity that will soon slam shut. To put it simply, this unfair advantage boils down to being among the first to exploit a new, cutting-edge technology. You see, with every technological shift, there are 2 sides. On one side is the majority of people. I call them the analogs. These are the folks who stick to the status quo. They don't see the potential of a new technology at first. Instead, they write it off as a novelty and keep doing things the old way. The analogs bury their heads in the sand until a new technology is so advanced and widespread that they have to use it. At that point, it's already too late to get an advantage. On the other side of the spectrum are the people I call the digitals. They make up the minority of most people, the visionaries. These are the folks who see the potential behind a new technology and exploit it to get wealthy. By being an early adopter, they're able to seize an unfair advantage and crush their competition. This phenomena is what I call the digital edge. And it's one of the most important wealth-building concepts of the 21st century. In fact, the digital edge is so powerful that it has allowed no-name startup companies to overthrow billion-dollar empires. I know this all probably sounds a bit theoretical. Let me show you a real-life example. Up until 2009, the taxi industry seemed bulletproof. If you were looking for a safe industry, you couldn't do much better than cabs. After all, people always need transportation, and not everybody owns a car. The analog way of thinking would tell you the cab industry was untouchable. Of course, now we know that's not the case. All it took was one startup company to turn the entire industry upside down. Of course, the company I'm talking about is Uber. They use the power of smartphone apps to create an unfair advantage that traditional cab companies couldn't compete with. They made it possible for anyone with a smartphone and a car to start a personalized taxi business within a matter of minutes. Uber went from a no-name company to generating billions of dollars and spawning knockoff companies around the world. Ola Cabs in India, Didi in China, Bolt in Europe, and of course, Lyft in the United States. Investors made out like bandits. In fact, early Uber investors made gains of more than 1.7 million%. That would turn $100 invested in Uber into $1.7 million. Within a matter of years, Uber had grown to a multi-billion-dollar company, and the taxi industry was devastated. In other words, Uber was able to dominate a multi-billion-dollar industry because of one thing: the digital edge. They used the cutting-edge technology of the time before anybody else, and that's why they currently have 130 million monthly users. And that's just one example. You can see this same phenomena play out nearly everywhere over the past several decades. Take the entertainment industry, for example. When Netflix showed up on the scene, the video rental business was still thriving. There was a video store on every street corner across America. Blockbuster alone was raking in $5 billion a year. At first glance, it looked like Netflix didn't stand a chance. In fact, the founder of Netflix actually pitched a partnership proposal to Blockbuster in the early days. He was laughed out of the room. That turned out to be one of the biggest business blunders ever made. Because just like Uber, Netflix had a hidden advantage. They had the digital edge. As I'm sure you'll recall, up until Netflix showed up, you'd have to go to a physical store if you wanted to rent a movie. If the store didn't have the movie you wanted, tough luck. You either have to go to another store or wait for it to be in stock. That was the traditional model, and Blockbuster didn't believe it would ever change. Again, this was the analog way of thinking. But Netflix was miles ahead. They realized that they could leverage high-speed internet to create a whole new business model. They became the first popular video streaming service and went on to soar as much as 2,429%. They completely changed the industry and spawned dozens of competitors. Meanwhile, Blockbuster went bankrupt. In other words, you could have either made 25x your money on Netflix or lost everything on Blockbuster. Again, that's the power of the digital edge. But that's nothing compared to what happened with Amazon. Back when Amazon was getting their start, they were just another small book retailer. Meanwhile, Borders was a titan in the book industry. Nobody could have imagined that a tiny company like Amazon would even put a dent in their market share. But luckily for Amazon, Borders was stuck in the old school analog way of doing things. They didn't see the potential of the internet, but Amazon did. And they used it as an unfair advantage to turn the industry upside down. They started to dominate the industry through online sales. As for Borders, they went the way of Blockbuster, going bankrupt as well. Once Amazon saw how well their internet model worked, they used it to start beating out other brick-and-mortar retailers. Stores like Sears and JCPenney have been some of the latest dominoes to fall as a result. Meanwhile, Amazon has soared nearly 200,000%. That's enough to turn every $1,000 into nearly $2 million. Are you starting to see a pattern here? The digital edge is like an unfair advantage that allows you to mint money. I should know, because I used it to build a multi-billion-dollar empire from nothing. The truth is, I may be wealthy now, but it wasn't always that way. I actually had a bit of a rough start in life. I grew up in a small town you've never heard of. My father was a bricklayer, and my mother took care of the kids in the house. I didn't have a lot of prospects for the future growing up, and to make matters worse, I was dyslexic. I've always said that if it weren't for the stock market, I'd likely be washing dishes at a fast food joint somewhere. I'm sure my early teachers would agree. Luckily for me, what I lacked in writing, I made up for with numbers and technology. Against all odds, I managed to get into Cal State, where I studied statistics and finance. While I was there, it just so happened that a couple of our guest lecturers worked for Wells Fargo Bank. This was during the pre-PC era, and at the time, Wells Fargo was one of the only institutions that were experimenting with computers. They were trying to create the first index fund, and given my gift with numbers and technology, my professors chose me to help them do it. The goal was simple. I had to create a fund that matched the performance of the overall stock market. While I was working on this project, I realized two things that completely changed my life. Number one, it was impossible to match the market because there are always stocks that soared in price and threw off the average. And number two, computers were going to become the most powerful investing tool ever created within the next few years. I didn't know it at the time, but I had uncovered a digital edge that would allow me to become wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. I knew that if I could figure out how to identify the stocks that were skyrocketing and throwing off the average, I'd be able to do what my textbooks told me was impossible. I'd be able to consistently beat the market. And I knew that computers were the key. I spent countless hours crunching numbers and experimenting. But it wasn't until shortly after I graduated that I finally cracked the code. I figured out how to combine an obscure financial concept called modern portfolio theory with computing power to identify winning stocks. My new system worked like gangbusters. Before I knew it, I was using computing power to crush the stock market. I explored the idea of getting my PhD, but that would have meant going public with my discovery. I knew that what I had discovered was far more valuable than having a doctor in front of my name. Instead, I started publishing my stock picks, and I eventually went on to create one of the most successful investment newsletters of all time. Word of my computer-based investment system spread among wealthy investors, and before I knew it, I was managing millions of dollars. Then hundreds of millions. Eventually, I had a staff of over 50 people, and I was managing billions of dollars for some of the wealthiest, most influential people in the world. Anything I wanted in life was at my fingertips. The cars, the mansions, the private jets, the yachts, you name it. I achieved the American dream, and for that reason, I'll always be grateful to this country. But I'm not just telling you all of this to give you an inspirational rags to riches story. I point to my unmatched track record and success in the hopes you'll take what I say very seriously. Understanding the digital edge can have a tremendous impact on your life. The fact is, if you can harness the technology of tomorrow before anybody else, you have a huge opportunity to get wealthy. And that brings me to the reason I'm recording this message today. The computer digital edge that I use to get wealthy may be over, but the AI digital edge has just begun. You see, normally the way you take advantage of the digital edge is by investing in the right companies. For example, you could have invested in Netflix before they became an entertainment giant, or Amazon before they started dominating retail. You could have even invested with my firm back when I was one of the only people using computers to analyze the stock market. There's nothing wrong with that strategy. As you've seen, it can make you incredibly wealthy. But it can be tricky to find the right companies that are going to explode ahead of time. An even better strategy is to get direct access to the digital edge like I did with computers. The problem is that the most cutting-edge technology is usually off limits to the average person. Most folks couldn't have picked up a computer like I did in the 1980s and start using it to crank out complex stock market algorithms. They couldn't have developed a smartphone app to flip the transportation industry upside down like Uber did. And they couldn't have started a video streaming service that went head-to-head with Blockbuster like Netflix did. Those things all required tons of highly specialized skills and knowledge. My point is, usually it's the technologists, entrepreneurs, and wealthy investors with the ability to take advantage of the huge growth. That's what makes what I'm about to show you such an incredible opportunity. For the first time in history, regular folks can leverage the digital edge for the chance to catch up on their retirement savings and even become millionaires. It all boils down to this chart. Let me make myself clear. What you're looking at is the future of investing and wealth creation. It's the digital edge of 2024. And the technology behind it is going to blindside millions of people. But the folks who take advantage of it early stand to become obscenely wealthy. The best part is, you don't need any specialized knowledge to use it. All you have to know is how to buy and sell a stock, which you can learn within a matter of minutes. Allow me to explain. See that blue dot on the right side of the chart? That's the price prediction for Apple stock made on January 17th, 2024. It's set a month into the future. Now look at what happens when we overlay the actual stock price. As you can see, the prediction was shockingly accurate. In fact, it was only off by about 0.03%. Pretty crazy, right? It gets even crazier because this prediction was not made by a human analyst. Earlier, I mentioned that AI is far more advanced than most people realize. The truth is, most folks don't even understand what AI really is. When you mention AI, most people think of ChatGPT. That's their only frame of reference because that's all you hear about on the news. But there's another side to the story. There's another application that's been developed alongside ChatGPT that 99.9% of people have never heard of, and it can make folks rich. Allow me to explain. At its core, AI is an advanced form of pattern recognition. If you feed the AI enough data, it starts to pick up on patterns and use those patterns to solve problems. For example, ChatGPT is what's known as an AI language model. Over the past several years, it's been fed billions of words and sentences to learn how to solve language problems. That's how it can write and hold a conversation so well. What most folks don't realize is that ChatGPT isn't the only major AI application that's been under development. While ChatGPT has been learning language, another AI has been learning the stock market. It's the brainchild of a financial tech company called Tradesmith. You probably never heard of them, but they're one of the top financial tech companies in the world. They're also home to some of the best data scientists and software engineers in the industry. They specialize in creating cutting-edge tech for trading and analyzing the stock market. You see, while AI may be a new concept to the general public, the folks at Tradesmith have been working on it for quite some time. About half a decade ago, they laid the foundations for what would become one of the most ambitious projects in the history of finance. It started out as a few lines of code. Then it became a trading algorithm. Eventually, they realized they could give it a mind of its own. They scoured the world to create a dream team of AI developers and financial experts. They poured millions of dollars and tens of thousands of man-hours into research and development. The result was an advanced AI they call ANI, or Analytical Engine. To put it simply, after years of testing, they recently unleashed ANI into the world. The chart you saw just a moment ago was just one example of ANI's predictive power. At the moment, it tracks more than 4,000 stocks and can project where they'll likely be in the future. Take a look for yourself. This is a stock chart of American Airlines. Now notice the red X at the end of December last year. That's when ANI made a prediction of what's going to happen to American Airlines stock price in the near future. If you look back to your right, that blue circle represents where ANI projected American Airlines stock price would be 1 month from its signal date. So how did ANI do? Well, let's take a look at the results. The green line represents the actual stock price. This is what American Airlines stock actually did over the next month. As you can see, ANI's forecast was spot on. ANI predicted the stock would jump 3.5%. In reality, it jumped 3.57%. Here's another one. This is a chart of the investment management corporation BlackRock. ANI made this prediction on December 21, 2023. Again, the blue circle represents the predicted stock price 1 month from the prediction date. Now look how it did. 1 month into the future, ANI said BlackRock would drop 1.7%. BlackRock dropped 1.67%. It was almost spot on. Here's another example. Late last year, ANI was tasked with predicting the future price of Align Technology. ANI said in a month, Align Technology would go up 3.9%. A month later, the stock was up 3.73%. This time, it was only off about 0.17%. The same phenomena played out over and over again in these recent market examples. ANI made a prediction, and then the stock followed within a small margin of error. The same thing happened with a company called BlackBerry Limited. Here's ANI's prediction, and here's what the stock price actually did. As you can see, it was almost spot on. And ANI's prediction for CME Group was just as accurate. It said that 1 month out, the stock would be down 4.8%. When you look at how the stock actually performed, it went down 4.74%. I could go on and on with examples, but the bottom line is this. The predictive power of this AI is astonishing, and it's only getting better by the day. Having access to this AI in 2024 is like having access to computer stock analysis in 1988. It's a quantum leap forward in technology. You see, Annie is able to make these incredible projections because it doesn't think like a human. Instead, it uses machine learning to analyze the market. I think the best example of this phenomena is in the world of chess. You see, computer scientists have actually been using AI chess bots for a long time. They work similarly to ChatGPT or Annie. You feed them millions of chess data points, and they recognize patterns for winning games of chess. Pretty straightforward, right? Here's what's really interesting. When people started studying the strategies these chess bots were using, they were completely bizarre. They used strategies human players would never come up with. Some folks even ridiculed them at first. But here's the kicker. The chess bots won. Over and over again, they were able to beat the best chess players in the world because they ran millions of simulations and came up with strategies the human mind couldn't conceive of. I believe the exact same thing is happening with Annie. It's coming up with strategies that a normal stock analyst would never think of. And it's working. That's how I was able to predict that Arcadium stock would go up 9%. Bluebird stock would go up 6%. And Carnival Corporation would go up around 12%. Look, I know these gains don't seem like life-changing, but let me ask you, if I told you shares of Amazon would be 8% higher 30 days from now, would you buy shares? My guess is probably yes. Even though an 8% gain isn't going to change your financial life, it boils down to probability. This is the way Wall Street thinks. They're not gunning for 1,000% moonshots, and they rarely make a trade without knowing, with an extremely high degree of certainty, what will happen on the other side. That's because in the world of high-stakes finance, it's all about finding that edge, mitigating risk, and maximizing gains. Wall Street are the masters of this. So while yes, 7 or 8% might not sound very attractive to the uninitiated, what about when that 8% comes with a high degree of probability? What if that 8% actually turns out to be 12% or even 20% in 30 days? What if you could reliably cash in those gains over and over again? This is the kind of edge the professional traders will pay a fortune to get. So, the real power of Annie lies in the probability and trust you have going into each and every trade. This tech puts you on the same footing as the Wall Street elite. Look, the transition to AI investing has always been inevitable. I thought we had more time, but we don't. AI is here and it's not going away. Annie has a big head start on other AI stock picking algorithms. But it's only a matter of time before AI analysis completely takes over. What makes Annie so exciting is that it's a one-of-a-kind, Wall Street caliber investment tool available for the regular folks to use today. In fact, a small group of Main Street Americans are already using Tradesmith's research services based on Annie to see fantastic results. For example, David S. from Tennessee has already made $12,000 using Annie. Thank you for your help in picking up recommended AI stocks. To date, I'm up about $12,000. Thanks again. A Rhode Island man named Joseph C. said, I made a quick 20.75% profit on one trade. Thank you. Bob S. from Ohio made $7,000 in less than a month and a half when he started trading with Annie. After 43 days of trading, I've closed 26 trades for a realized gain of $7,114. Keep up the great work. Henry G. from California said, I earned a 20.1% return in 14 days. Keep up the great work, guys. And David H. from New Mexico used Annie to make a $4,500 profit in a matter of days. Had a good day today. I made $4,500 profit in 3 days. I could go on and on with examples, but I think you get the point. This is the digital edge I've been talking about. The ability to harness the power of AI for investing is a game changer for wealth creation. If you can reliably make 8% per month and compound it over a year, $10,000 turns into $25,000. $25,000 turns into $62,000. That's around a 150% gain. This shows you the power the compounding effect can have in just a short time. And that's on a modest 8% return. What if we dial up just a notch to a 12% monthly compounded return? Remember that 8% turned $10,000 into $25,000 in a year. Look what happens when we take the monthly gains up to 12%, a mere 4% greater than the original 8%. Still a very achievable gain. But at 12%, the results are much better. That $10,000 turns into nearly $40,000. $25,000 will turn into nearly $100,000. And since the gains aren't that huge, those incredible results come from the level of conviction and not from the size of the gains. We're not talking 400%, 300%, or even 100% in a month. Just 12% here, 20% there, and depending on the size of your investment, within a matter of months, you could be adding tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands to your account. Annie enables you to achieve a solid return with a high probability it will happen. And you have the chance to do it month after month. Until you stack up such huge profits, you don't know what to do with them all. I hope you're starting to see the potential here. But remember, the digital edge always has two sides. The sad truth is history is about to repeat itself. We simply can't get this message out to everyone, and many of the folks who see it will choose to ignore it. The analogs will bury their heads in the sand and pretend it isn't happening like they always do. But before long, reality will catch up, and the same old story will play out again. Just like Netflix crushed Blockbuster, just like Amazon crushed Borders, and just like I used computers to crush the stock market over 30 years ago, AI is about to crush the old way of investing. There's simply no way around it, and there's no way you can compete. That's why I keep telling you that it's either going to make you rich or ravage your retirement savings. There's no middle ground here. These days, the amount of data AI can process is many times greater than anything we've seen before. For example, Annie can analyze more data in just 1 minute than 1 million human accountants could process in 1,000 years. Then it can compare and contrast all that data to recognize patterns and make discoveries humans could never see. Just like the chess AI bots I talked about earlier. In other words, you're trying to compete with an advanced AI that's performing millions of calculations per second. Most people can't do the math better than a $2 calculator. How can anyone expect to pick stocks better than a multi-million-dollar AI program? We're talking about taking the most powerful computing technology ever created and telling it your only purpose is to forecast stock behavior. Right now, we're looking at one of the biggest unfair advantages to ever exist in investing. If you're not using an AI algorithm to help you make investment decisions, you're the sucker on the other side of the transaction. You're the thing AI is learning how to exploit. I'm not here to spread gloom and doom, but if you're looking for comforting lies, you're in the wrong place. I'm here to tell you the raw, unfiltered reality of the situation. You don't have to like it, but you have to accept it or you're going to get buried. And here's the thing. The transition to AI investing is going to happen extremely quickly. I've mentioned that AI is already changing the world, but I haven't explained why it's going to happen faster than any technology that's ever come before. You see, back in the 1960s, a scientist named Gordon Moore observed the exponential growth rate of computing power and predicted every 2 years the number of transistors on microchips would double. In other words, computing power would double every 2 years. This is now commonly referred to as Moore's Law. At the time, this predicted growth rate was seen as a breakneck pace, but it happened just as Moore predicted. So, since the dawn of computing, Moore's Law has held true. The growth rate of computing, as fast as it's been, has held constant, doubling roughly every 2 years for the last 5 decades. But just recently, that's changed, and in a huge way. AI is now said to have broken Moore's Law. Now top researchers are saying AI is doubling its computing rate not every 2 years, but every 3.5 months. That's a time frame roughly 7 times shorter than the original 2 years. But shortening the time computing takes to double from 24 months to 3.5 months doesn't mean it's advancing 7 times quicker. Since the growth rate is exponential, it's doubling on top of itself every 3.5 months, doubling on top of doubling on top of doubling, meaning it's actually increasing at a rate not 7 times faster, but 2 to the 7th power faster, or 128 times faster. What all this means is that as smart as AI is, it's only going to get smarter and smarter over time, and it will be doing so at an extremely rapid pace. And as I've said, because of machine learning, it'll be able to become smarter without a human, learning on its own. Annie is part of this new technological paradigm. It gets smarter over time, giving anyone with access to it a tremendous edge over everyone else. This is quite possibly the most profound impact AI will have in our lifetimes. And I'm not just saying that because I pick stocks for a living. The fact is, nearly everyone has a stake in the stock market. The days of picking stocks is very quickly coming to an end. In fact, we're already starting to see people in finance losing their jobs. In the near future, it's no longer going to be wealthy fund managers competing against each other to get their clients the best return. Instead, it's going to be who has the best AI. We'll have AI bots competing against each other, making trades and dictating the pace of the markets. My point is, the time to take action is now, before AI fully catches on and changes investing forever. Earlier, I told you I'd give you 3 steps to take to prepare. Here's what I recommend. Step number 1, put the digital edge in your hands. Annie is available for you to try out today. Like I said, it belongs to a cutting-edge financial tech company called Tradesmith. They've spent over $18 million and 50,000 man-hours developing the most groundbreaking financial innovations on the market. They built an AI dream team of top-notch computer programmers from around the world consisting of 36 data scientists, software engineers, and investment analysts. The result is Annie, one of the most advanced predictive investing AI known to man. And they're making it available to regular folks through a new service called Predictive Alpha. When you sign up, you'll be able to use Annie to search more than 4,000 stocks to see which direction and by how much they will move over the next 21 trading days. And keep in mind, this software is proprietary, meaning they built it from scratch. You won't find anything like it anywhere else in the world. And that means you'll have a huge head start on the competition, just like I did when I was using computers to analyze the stock market. It's truly the digital edge of 2024. To help you get started, you'll receive a report called The Digital Edge: How to Leverage AI Investing for an Unfair Advantage. Inside this report, you'll learn more about the predictive power of Annie and how to use it to get a leg up in the market. As a member of Predictive Alpha, you'll also receive premium Tradesmith research, including 2 stock recommendations a month from some of the top market analysts in the country. I'll tell you how you can join Predictive Alpha for pennies a day in just a moment. First, let me tell you about the other action steps you need to take. Step number 2, stay in contact with me. While Annie gives you the digital edge, I don't expect you to go at it alone. The fact is, technology is moving faster than ever today. You need someone in your corner who's plugged in to what's going on behind the scenes. As someone who manages over $1 billion for some of America's wealthiest investors, I'd like to be your inside connection. When you agree to try out Predictive Alpha today, you'll also be added to my e-letter, Market 360. 4 times a week, I'll send you an email explaining what I see happening in the markets so you're not caught off guard. I'll also send you some of the most exciting financial research and insights my team and I uncover. And that leads me to the final step you should take today. Step number 3, buy shares of companies using the digital edge for the chance at huge gains. I know I've spent a lot of time talking about how you can get direct access to the digital edge through Annie, but it's always a good idea to diversify your strategy as much as possible. And there's still a ton of money to be made by investing in the companies using AI to dominate their respective industries. The fact is, companies that will become the next Netflix, Amazon, and Uber of tomorrow are likely AI companies. My team and I have sifted through thousands of stocks to find the top 3 companies that are most likely to emerge as the biggest winners of the AI revolution. And we've come up with a list of 3 stocks to buy ASAP. We put the names of these companies inside a brand new report called The Digital Edge: 3 companies using AI to dominate the competition. Each of these companies has a tremendous amount of potential. Again, just look at what would have happened if you had invested in Amazon back before they blew up, or Netflix. Either of those companies could have turned a small starting stake into a substantial wealth. Please keep in mind all investments carry risk, and past performance is no guarantee of future success. I want to be clear. The amount of research that goes into this kind of report is mind-boggling. That's why I normally restrict these picks for the folks who are paying me thousands of dollars. But it's critically important that you make the shift to learning how to invest with AI today. And I'm doing everything in my power to make that decision a no-brainer for you. That's why you can get access to this new report 100% free when you try out Predictive Alpha today. But that's not all. While there are a handful of companies getting ready to leverage the digital edge to become the next Netflix, Uber, and Amazon, on the other side of that coin are the companies that will become the next Borders or the next Blockbuster. They're simply stuck in the analog way of thinking. The names of these companies might surprise you. We put the details in another report we're calling 3 Analog Companies Doomed to Fail. You'll also receive a free copy of this report when you become a member of Predictive Alpha today. Before I show you how to get started, there's a couple other things we need to go over. First of all, let me show you how the service actually works. Here's what your Annie dashboard will look like when you log in. The way the system works is dead simple. When you log in, you'll see a screen that looks like this. Type a stock into that little box at the top, and you'll instantly see what AI is predicting for that stock's price. In other words, all you have to do is type the name of a stock, and Annie will tell you if it's most likely to go up, down, or sideways. Then all you have to do is decide on whether or not you want to buy it. It's as simple as that. As part of your Predictive Alpha subscription, you'll get to search one stock ticker per week. You'll also receive a copy of the Predictive AI Playbook that will explain everything and get you up and running within a matter of minutes. With the combined market insights you'll receive from Market 360, you'll be miles ahead of the average investor. Not only will you have the power of one of the most advanced AI systems in the world at your fingertips, you'll also have access to the daily insights of someone who manages over $1 billion for some of America's wealthiest investors. And it gets even better. This offer comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Look, I understand if you're still skeptical. This is a lot to take in. We're talking about a complete paradigm shift here. If you're used to the analog way of thinking, switching to the digital side can be intimidating. That's why I've talked to the folks over at Tradesmith, and they've agreed to offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. That means you can try out this software for the next 60 days, and if you decide you don't like it, you can get a full refund. You can even keep all of my research and reports no matter what. That's how confident I am that this offer has the potential to change your financial life. To recap, here's everything you'll receive when you agree to try out Predictive Alpha today. Use of the Annie predictive algorithm for one stock search per week, every week, and you'll be able to enter one stock of your choice into Tradesmith's predictive system to see what Annie is forecasting the future price of that stock will be 1 month into the future. Remember, you'll have more than 4,000 stocks, ETFs, and funds to choose from. 2 new stock recommendations every month. Access to research from a team of some of the top market analysts in the country. A weekly video market analysis and update on the recommendations from Predictive Alpha. And a bonus 1-year subscription to my Market 360 e-letter. Plus special report number 1, The Digital Edge, How to Leverage AI Investing for an Unfair Advantage. Special report number 2, The Digital Edge, 3 companies using AI to dominate the competition. And special report number 3, 3 analog companies doomed to fail. It's time to decide. Will you get blindsided as an analog or harness the digital edge to gain an unfair advantage? The way I see it, you have 3 choices. You can forget you ever saw this video, bury your head in the sand, and pretend like AI won't have an impact on your life. Or you can take everything I've told you and try to uncover an AI trading algorithm that's better than what I'm offering. Or you can take me up on this offer to try out one of the most powerful pieces of investment software ever created and learn how to grow your wealth in ways you never thought possible. The time to leverage the AI digital edge is right now. You still have time to be among the first to use AI investment strategies for the chance to grow your wealth exponentially, just like I use computers to grow mine. I believe anyone who takes this offer today will look back on it as one of the best decisions they ever made. Imagine telling your friends and family about how you got rich in the market, how you were among the first to leverage the predictive power of AI for stocks. This is the kind of opportunity that only comes along once or twice in a lifetime. As someone who has used technology to analyze the stock market for over 40 years with wild success, I'm telling you, this is the real deal. I believe it's every bit as good as any software the billion-dollar Wall Street firms have access to. Maybe even better. And the best part is, it costs pennies a day to try out. The simple fact of the matter is, index funds and mutual funds are not going to save your retirement. AI can. Annie is living proof of that. You cannot afford to sit on the sidelines. And there's no middle ground to stand on. Right now, you need to make a choice for yourself, your family, and your future. Which side do you want to be on? The digital side or the analog side? My sincere hope is that you're one of the rare few who takes action, because this could be the greatest opportunity you'll ever see to build generational wealth quickly. This could be the decision that changes everything for you. Click the button on your screen to get started now. You'll be taken to a secure order form where you can review everything I've talked about. Thank you for your time. This is Louis Navellier, signing off.